there's not one industry that exists that won't be disrupted by blockchain technology. So knowing that, like, why wouldn't I want to be a part of this? Cryptocurrency is literally designed to bubble. Billions of people could access this technology. And of course, there's going to be bad actors and greedy people that like need to be dealt with. Like, I'm not saying that we shouldn't do that, but I also think that maybe in the next 2 decades, there will be a more safe version of all the things that we're working with right now.
Hey listeners, welcome to another episode of InvoTalks. This is Fatma Suhail, and you might know about the FTX crash, concerns on crypto regulation. But the question is cryptocurrency going to be stable this year? What lies ahead as famous Tim Draper predicts that Bitcoin will rise to $50,000 this year, despite the crash? So today to talk about all crypto, we have Ethan Turer with us. He is the author of Next Bull Rush, The Future of Investing in and People. I must say this is an amazing book and you should all read it. It's so easy and I'm so excited to have Ethan with us today. Before I jump into all questions and all crypto world, this podcast is powered by InvoZone. InvoZone is top web and app development company, and we have two other verticals: Invo Games, which is involved in game development, and Invo Blocks, which is developing blockchain and is progressing in the world of blockchain. And welcome, Ethan, to our show. How are you?
Hi, I'm great. Thanks for having me.
It's completely an honor. As I said, I read about your book. I reached to fourth chapter and it was quite interesting and so easy for crypto beginners, I must say.
That's great. Yeah, you read the first part of it, which is called Crypto Curious. So you were curious enough to get to that section, and now the next section is Crypto Conscious. So we'll see how far you want to go down the crypto rabbit hole.
So how many sections your book has?
It has 3 sections. Basically, it starts off easy, like kind of understanding the foundation of crypto and Bitcoin and why it matters. And then the next section is for crypto conscious, really trying to understand why it's relevant to like daily life and like why you should be interested in this technology for your day-to-day activities. And then the last section is crypto capitalist, which is probably where most people think about crypto, which is like, how do you make money off of this thing? And then I think all of it is tied together around my idea for a future of investing in people, which I think is where we're headed. Right now, companies can create their own currency, governments can create their own currency, but I think the next evolution of this is people being able to create their own currency. And that's why I wrote a book about this topic.
It is quite interesting that, like we were talking about, that money with crypto, a concept comes that money is not going to be only in the hands of rich. It's gonna spread. What do you think about that? Is crypto leading us towards that despite fluctuations and everything?
Yeah, I would say right now, it doesn't look great for that. What you brought up is an interesting point, right? That most of the money is in the hands of the rich and wealthy. I forget the exact number, but it's like the top 1% of the 1% own like almost half of the wealth in the whole world. So I don't think cryptocurrency alone is going to like change that. I think we need like probably redistributive policies from governments. So it's probably more complicated, but the basic idea is that those rich people, like, they need to be kind of depowered, I guess is how I'd put it. I think cryptocurrency is great because there is no rule saying that like, oh, it can only be controlled by one person. Anyone could like get in the space. And so that is why I think that ideal that everyone could eventually like create their own currency, be a part of this new economy is really powerful.
Yeah, cryptocurrency is all powerful, especially is with its the blockchain technology powering it, and the transparency which comes with it, and how you can keep the record. But still, Ethan, I come across people who have a lot of concerns about the blockchain technology. the regulations recently. Germany last year said that it is going to regulate the currency. And after the FTX, Hong Kong was the most prepared country in terms of crypto. But right now they're like, we gonna control the crypto exchanges and everything, maybe because of FTX. But what would you say about the concerns that there are no regulations, there is volatility, it is not predictable? I understand that fiat currency is also not
Mhm.
predictable, but why crypto is facing so much concerns?
So I like to, when I explain cryptocurrency, like I like to remind people about other contexts in history of where this has like happened before, right? Because there's been other examples, like for instance, in the United States, we had the Wild West, where people were just expanding out into like, I'm in California right now. Before California was a part of the United States, it was just like lands that people were like, oh, I want to go there for the next gold rush, right?
Yeah.
And there were no laws. People were just doing whatever they wanted based on greed. There was like you know, what's the whole where like people just like going on like dueling each other for land. It was like really crazy times, and I feel like that's a good parallel to right now. Where this is like the new internet version of the Wild West, because it's not easy to regulate cryptocurrency. No one government can like control Bitcoin. It's like its own sovereign currency that wasn't created by a government. And that's really scary because there's a lot of unknowns, there's a lot of uncertainty. And as you can see with our current market, there's bad actors where they see like dollar signs and then they do whatever they want and there's no regulation. And then you have people that lose literally billions of dollars. So I'm not vouching for the industry as a whole right now and that it's great in terms of it being like unregulated. I think we do need regulation.
Yeah.
That being said, we're a very like immature industry. Like Bitcoin was created in 2008. Like just in the context of like how far we've come, it hasn't even been 2 decades yet. And in less than 2 decades, it's almost become mainstream. Like just to think about how crazy that is in the context of like the history of the world, billions of people could access this technology. And of course, there's going to be bad actors and greedy people that like need to be dealt with. Like, I'm not saying that we shouldn't do that, but I also think that maybe in the next 2 decades, there will be a more safe version of all the things that we're working with right now, where it'll become more mainstream, won't feel like it's this scary thing. And at that point, I think you were talking about Bitcoin being like $250,000. I think at that point it will reach that. I think it's still too early to like speculate on it rising that quickly because we really need to solve a lot of these concerns for people to feel safe to put their money in it. And I don't think this year we're there in terms of solving it.
Hmm. Well, I would agree with you that this year is going to be a little tough. And in terms of your earlier discussion, read in your book about the bubbles, crypto bubble, housing bubble. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
you were, I think, referring to that when you said that we are kind of new. So it is kind of yeah, it is kind of a bubble for us. We're still understanding the world of blockchain and crypto, but the power it possesses, the power comes with so much responsibility too.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And it's hard because we want to like not work with government. We don't like, when I say we, I mean like the people who use cryptocurrency like every day, that most of the reason they use it is because they don't like government. So they don't want regulation, but you've already seen that they don't like self-regulate. There's no like, it's not like working right now without it. So there needs to be some kind of maybe compromise or like other like creative solutions to like make people feel like they're not gonna lose their money if they start to like actually invest in this technology.
Yeah, I agree that we do need regulations for the starters. And I was talking to another crypto guy who was saying that we also need to make uh, uh, people safe in understanding that they are secured in this world, and we can do this by creating some laws for the starters, and the second, by insuring them. What do you think about that?
Mhm. Yeah, like that was another potential solution is you could have like insurance companies like kind of join the space where, if something happens, like someone steals your Bitcoin from your wallet, maybe you have it insured, and that insurance kind of gives you more security, knowing that there's like a backup plan. Like we have that in the United States for the banks. If you have money in like a bank, it's called the FDIC. Like they insure your money up to like $100,000. So if the bank goes bankrupt, that government steps in and says, we'll pay you the difference. Like you could have a solution like that for cryptocurrency. Maybe it doesn't even have to be a government. Maybe it could be just another insurance company.
Hmm. I agree with that. Well, I think we have to cater people around more. Uh, the technology is amazing. It's just we have to remove the fear around it.
The fair, you mean like the fees? Oh, fear. Sorry.
Yeah, the
Yes.
fear around it, that people are so afraid of it that it's gonna come down, our investments are gonna like, it's not going to work out. So I went into all crypto, but I want to know about you. Ethan, how did you landed into the world of crypto, and how did you think about, I'm going to write a book about it?
Yeah, so I started my journey into cryptocurrency in 2018. I had just started my first job out of college, and they asked me like, "What are you interested in? Stock market, sports, cryptocurrency?" And I was like, "Oh, cryptocurrency. That sounds cool." And it was like my job to just research and like go down this rabbit hole, and I became fascinated with blockchain technology and this idea that money could be something that wasn't created by a government, like that I didn't know that was a thing until I started that job really. And then also at the same time, Bitcoin reached an all-time high of $20,000.
Yeah, yeah.
So that was a really big deal back then. And now it's gone way more than that. It's like 60 or almost like over $60,000 is like the new peak. So it's funny because I've been a part of like a previous peak and I know what it's like to be part of like a winter scenario where it's like 3 years of it kind of like not doing great. And so this feels like similar to that period where it's just like really excited and then it crashed. And now we're just waiting for like the next big like bull run is what they call it. But it's interesting. Like there's patterns in how cryptocurrency like bubbles, we talked about bubbles earlier. I think cryptocurrency is literally designed to bubble. Like I don't think we've ever had a scenario before. Like another example would be the .com bubble, where we have these, the beginning of the internet was really exciting. And so people were just creating companies like pets.com, even though they didn't do anything of value. And then they're just like getting these crazy valuations on the stock market because everyone wanted to be a part of the internet bubble. I think it's like that, but it's instead of its stock market, it's every project or company is like something that you can invest in to like blow up and then it crashes. It's really insane to be a part of an industry where bubbling is like the norm because it kind of like destigmatizes you to like caring about when it goes up or down. Like it feels like I don't really care. Like I don't even watch the Bitcoin price anymore because it goes up, it goes down. Like it really doesn't really matter. I think what matters is being active in this space for the next 10 years because I believe it's going to keep getting bigger and bigger as a whole, but focusing on the price right now isn't the best way to spend your energy.
I agree with that. Actually, I told you that we had Jenny Tuta on the show too, and she talked about the crypto halving. That how yeah, how crypto rises in the prices, and how the halving takes place. So it was quite interesting, and your point of view is also very enlightening. And I must say, it is a refreshing point of view that we should not be focusing on prices right now. We should be I think, like you said, you are completely right that we should focus on being active in this space, because this technology is crypto, blockchain. This is going to like be going to rise again. That's what I hope,
Mhm.
and that's what I assume.
I mean, I don't know what the price of Bitcoin is going to be in like 10 years. I have no idea, but I do know that this technology is going to disrupt every industry. There's not one industry that exists that won't be disrupted by blockchain technology. So knowing that, like, why wouldn't I want to be a part of this? Like, I think the focus on the price is just like the greedy part of our society wanting to like make a quick buck. I don't really want to like support that aspect, but I think seeing all the cool things we've been able to do already, even with like the NFT space, is really inspiring.
Yeah, I completely agree. It's this technology is amazing. The as I said, the power it has, we have to understand that power because,
Mhm.
like you said, it's gonna change the world. It is going to be part of every industry eventually.
Exactly.
So, I assume that you did don't please don't mind me saying that you did not have any
Mhm.
background in crypto, but you learned about crypto. And most of the listeners we have are also from non-technical backgrounds. I'm curious to know what's the first step a person who does not know about a crypto can take. Surely they can read your book. It's quite easy,
Right.
and does not has that lingo that we have to Google again and again. And the way it is divided in chapters, it's like phenomenal. So I want to know that before reading the book or after reading the book, what are the steps they can take to know the crypto world and navigate through it?
So if I was starting over from scratch, right, I didn't know anything about Bitcoin or cryptocurrency or anything, I think the first thing I do is ask myself, like, why do I care? Because if you don't really have the motivation to like do all this research, then it doesn't matter what I tell you to do. Like, you're not going to do it. So do you care about crypto because, you want to make money? You think that Bitcoin is a good investment? Well, I would challenge you on that. I would say, why do you think Bitcoin's a good investment? And then if the answer is because my friend told me, that's not a good answer. Like, you need to understand why it works, right? So that's the start of this rabbit hole journey, is understanding the technology that powers Bitcoin. That's what I wrote about in my first chapter, is why does this technology matter? Like, why should we care? And my answer to that question goes back to the 2008 financial crisis, where we almost had like the biggest financial collapse in history. The only reason that it didn't happen that way is because the US government bailed out the financial industry, and that bailout cost trillions and trillions of dollars. Where did that money come from? It was printed out of thin air. Like, it was just the Federal Reserve being like, we're going to buy all your debt so that you stay afloat. So we artificially pumped up this industry that was going to collapse, creating this like house of cards effect. And doing so, we've like sustained the economy, right? Like, we're still growing and like, but nothing really fundamentally changed in 2008. So we really just, if we're using our bubble analogy, we had this bubble, it almost burst to a level that it would have like collapsed the entire world economy. But because we artificially like put money back into the bubble, it started getting bigger and bigger. So now we're at the point where we have an even bigger bubble that was artificially inflated to begin with. And all this artificial money is called fiat currency. Fiat meaning it doesn't have any intrinsic value. It was just created by a government because they can. And we used to have currency that was backed by gold in the 1970s in the United States, but then we stopped doing that. So now we're just saying like, we'll create like a bunch of IOUs, but you can't exchange it for gold. You just hope that the government is like trustworthy. And I don't know about you, but I don't really trust the government. So I don't really, sorry, I don't really have a lot of faith in our current system and these bubbles that are already exist outside of cryptocurrency. And so in 2008, Satoshi Nakamoto it's a pseudonym. It's not a real person, but this person named Satoshi Nakamoto, who we still don't know, by the way, created a technology called blockchain technology. And Bitcoin was the first use case, like first example of that technology where you can invest in it. And now you have a way to kind of have this ledger where you're tracking transactions. but it's not controlled by any one entity like the government. It's controlled by all of us in a network of nodes like computers. So we have this really cool internet money now that has nothing to do with governments, and it's completely sustainable because there's a supply cap, meaning there will only be 21 million Bitcoin that will ever exist. And because of that supply cap, we don't have to worry about there being like this inflation, which we're all facing in the United States right now. The inflation problem is not an issue for Bitcoin, whereas most government currencies, it's a huge problem because they keep printing money and increasing the supply and devaluing our currency. So that was my explanation. If you're interested in that at all, I would recommend like YouTube or like Googling videos that like explain this technology better. But definitely like look into it, understand the technology, and then keep asking yourself questions and just be curious. And I think letting curiosity be your guide is the best way to continue learning about it.
Yes, curiosity leads you to learn many things. And I think curiosity gives you kind of passion to know about the things you don't know. Because as a person like me, I am from a media background, not technical background. But when I read about crypto, I was like interested. It is quite interesting. And same for the blockchain technology that there is going to be like transaction control, transparency, and that kind of made me quite interested in this whole scenario of crypto, Bitcoin, etc. Um, Another question that came in my mind, I was reading the uh, latest developments because I'm like crypto savvy nowadays. Now, and that Microsoft banning crypto from cloud services, um, FTX happening. As you said, we should not be focusing on the value right now. But where do you see the crypto world going as a whole?
Right now, the crypto, like in the next year,
Yeah, like
I
yeah, in this year, like in 2020
yeah.
as a whole.
So, I mean, this is all speculation, but from what I understand about FTX and the whole Sam Bankman-Fried thing, basically, if you take a step back, just because we have this decentralized technology doesn't mean that everything that's happening within like Web3 or like the crypto space is decentralized, right? So FTX was a centralized exchange, and exchanges are necessary because if you want to buy Bitcoin, you can't just like go up to someone on the street and buy it right now. Like that doesn't exist. You need an exchange that has those currencies for you to buy it and then like hold it in your wallet. But all of those exchanges are centralized. It's like one database, one CEO. Like all these people are also not like great, like they're infallible. Some of them are corrupt, like Sam Bankman-Fried, and so they make bad decisions. And so what happened was with Sam Bankman-Fried is that he was kind of moving money into like an even riskier venture capital fund called Alameda, and that money basically went all away. And now there's this big void that was created because of their bad investments. And even more people that were investing in him because they trusted that guy, they're losing money. So it's kind of having this ripple effect of people trusting people, but the technology has nothing to do with like the decentralization. It's basically like an unregulated stock market where people just feel like in banking and like financial sector, where people think they can get away with things and there's no consequences to their actions. But then when things like that only works though when everything's going up, right? When Bitcoin was like going up and like all the other cryptocurrencies, their prices were going up, that like it didn't matter because no one was asking questions. They're like, oh, everything's great. But then when things started going down, that's when their bad investments became bankruptcy bad investments. And all of those bankruptcy decisions are rippling into other parts of this industry. So my 2 cents on this is that I think we're going to have a lot more people losing money because of that ripple effect, like dominoes falling. But hopefully that painful process of like losing money will make people second guess these people that they think they should trust, because I don't trust people with my money. Like, I have a cold storage wallet. I buy money on exchange and then I send it into my cold wallet. So when FTX went bankrupt, I wasn't scared about losing money because I knew that I have no money on an exchange. I think most people don't understand that they shouldn't trust exchanges with their money because they're just like an unregulated bank. Like, would you trust your bank if like it was unregulated and they just started spending your money on things that aren't good? Like, I think most people wouldn't. So it's just about like, like you're saying, knowledge is power. Like, ask these questions, like, should I trust a person or a central entity if they're unregulated? Probably not. I think a lot of people are learning the hard way, and we're going to have to like continue learning that lesson until we get regulation, or, these companies go bankrupt and like we have better companies that replace them.
Hmm. I agree with you on the whole answer, and all most importantly, knowledge is power. We have to know what we are doing before doing it.
Yeah. I mean, it's sad because I know a lot of people are excited about Bitcoin and they're like, oh, where do I buy it? And it's really easy to buy it on an exchange. It just is. But just because it's easy to buy it there doesn't mean you have to like leave your money there. Do you know what I mean? And I think knowing that you should take it off the exchange, that's where the knowledge comes from. If you didn't have that knowledge, like, of course you wouldn't know to like not leave your, however much you invested there. Like, I think it's, unfortunately, either you do the research before or you find out the hard way after.
No, no, no hard way after.
I don't like
Before.
hardware. I don't think. Yeah, don't read my book, hopefully, or like watch a YouTube video or something. But the hard way isn't something I recommend. But I think that's what's happening right now in our industry.
Yeah, and I think kind of unfairly whole blames fall on crypto.
Sorry, what?
I'm saying that we don't do research like you said, and we go for a hard way, and then all the blame if something goes wrong falls into crypto, which is kind of unjustified.
Yeah. Yeah. I have a good like example for this. Like, for my wallet that I have, it's basically like I control my own bank. It's like crazy responsibility. Like, I have to remember like the seed phrase, like these passwords. I can't leave them on like a, Google password saver. I have to have it written down somewhere so it's not a part of the internet. Like, if you didn't know to even follow those steps, it's like really easy for people to steal your money because all they need is your seed phrase. So there's just like things that are, once you understand them, like, it kind of makes sense that it's really hard. It's not like this internet money that we're talking about. It's not easy right now. It's like really inconvenient, but that inconvenience is what makes it more secure, if that makes sense. Like, you need to have like a lot of hurdles to getting access to this in order for you to like understand the importance of it. Because if you have the power of your own bank, wouldn't you like take that really seriously? Like, I do. And I hope other people that start to understand that that's the level of power they have in this ecosystem, that they should also like want to do that research.
Hmm. I agree. I agree. I completely agree with you. Before we leave you, I want to know what lessons would you give someone who's investing in crypto this year? I know the market is going down. Um, and as you said, we should do the research. We should not be caring about the money. We should be caring about being in the landscape, or I would say crypto environment, or crypto world. But let's just say that people are interested in investing still. Uh, I am. So, what lessons would you give them?
So I wrote a chapter 10 is called Investing in Crypto. And I would basically just send you that chapter. Like, I could give you the summary if you want, or if you reach out to me on any of these links, like, I'll send you that chapter 10 if you're interested. That being said, I think that before you invest, you should do the research. Like, I don't think you should put any money into like Bitcoin or any cryptocurrency until you understand like blockchain technology, why it works, like why it matters, like all these like questions, like before you put any of your own money in. Once you do that research and you're like, okay, I'm still interested in investing, there's a few things that I would say. Like, you should not invest more than you're willing to lose. I think that's a really important like lesson that a lot of people I heard recently put their whole life savings into Bitcoin and these other cryptocurrencies because they thought it's just easy money, right? I'll just get rich quick. I just like leave it here and then it just doubles until the end of time. And now they're seeing that that wasn't the case, right? So if you're investing in Bitcoin or whatever cryptocurrency, realize that it's still not necessarily a good investment. And by good investment, I mean, we have no idea. Like, for instance, I only invest in Bitcoin. I don't hold any other cryptocurrencies because I believe that Bitcoin is the only time-tested cryptocurrency. That being said, who knows? Like, maybe in 20 years, someone will find like a vulnerability in the technology. That hasn't happened yet, by the way. There's like, no one's ever hacked Bitcoin. They've hacked individual wallets. So that's like a little different. But let's say in the future, there's an AI that can hack Bitcoin and then it becomes like worthless. I would hate that, right? But if that happens, I know that I've only invested what I'm willing to lose and that this was always going to be really risky. Another lesson I would say is that for every new innovation, right, disruptive technology, going back to like the first computer and the internet, just because you invested in the technology doesn't mean that it was a good investment. There are certain examples like Netscape was one of the first internet companies that like really made it big. Netscape isn't around today. If you had bought Netscape stock, it would have gone to zero. And so there's no way of knowing what cryptocurrency or what project is going to be valuable in 10, 20, 30 years, right? So there's always risk. And I feel like, we were talking about fear earlier. I think fear is good if you have a healthy amount of fear. You've done the research, you know that it's risky, but you're willing to accept that risk to an extent, right? And here's what I mean by that. If I invest, let's say like $10,000 and it goes up to like $50,000 in a year, oh my gosh, that's amazing. But did you also, take money out while it was going up? Some people just think it's going to go up forever, but sometimes you should also be, taking some like early gains. So like I could theoretically take 10,000 out and then I've lost nothing, right? I've just accepted that the risk that I had originally, my principal investment, I got that back. So now everything else is like fun money. That's how I see like going to a casino, right? If you're going to a casino and you're like, oh, I'm on a hot streak, but if you don't leave while you're like hot, then eventually the house always wins. Like it's a similar thing here. Like you can't assume it's always going to go up. So you also have to be like actively being smart about, okay, what is this like expected like peak, right? I did this recently. I mentioned earlier that I started investing in 2018. So that was like at the beginning of the crash. So it was like going down. It was at 20,000 and it was going down. I invested at like 13, I think, or 8 between that range. And then it started going up again to $60,000 3 years later. I was like, well, I don't think it's going to go past 20. So I started like selling my Bitcoin at $20,000. And I think I sold between 20 and 30, like that range. I didn't know it was going to go up to 60. Like I was kicking myself that I should have left it in. But also right after it went to 60, it went down again, right? So you have to kind of like have these important investing like stop and loss like points where you realize that you need to not just assume it's going to always go up forever. Don't invest like anything that you're not willing to lose, but also like don't invest too much where you can't sleep at night. That'd be my last thing. Like if you're have anxiety and you're watching Bitcoin price every day, like that's not a good healthy thing. Like you should be able to have a comfortable investment, or if you lose it all, you're not gonna like, lose your house, right? Like for example, like invest what you're comfortable with losing, but also if you have too much anxiety about it, you probably didn't do enough research. Like I feel like I have a good understanding of it, so I don't like have that as much fear. It's like, it's like a healthy fear, but I keep it in check. And I think doing the research helps with the anxiety, but also it helps you with understanding when you should sell, when you should hold, all of those things as well. So I'll send you chapter 10 if you're interested. I also have a breakdown of like how I think you should evaluate all cryptocurrencies. Like that's a really interesting thing, is that there's just questions that you should ask yourself before investing in any cryptocurrency, including Bitcoin. And I've included those questions at the end of chapter 10. So happy to send that for free. You can reach out to me on all those social links. And yeah, just be safe, be smart. And hopefully 10 years from now, we'll be having a completely different conversation about this technology.
Well, I am up for that, and I am really hopeful for that. At the same time, that after 10 years, we are surely going to have a different discussion on crypto and the way this landscape is going to change.
Awesome.
Thank you so much, Ethan, for being with us. And I completely also agree with you that we should first evaluate. And I would love to read chapter 10 of your book. And thank you so much for being with us. And I really enjoyed our conversation that how we should first study the market, know what we are going into before learning the hard lessons and not blaming it on crypto as a whole. And secondly, I loved our discussion about that how crypto is not all going to be about money, how every technology is not about money and investing like the things have been built around crypto, but it is also about staying in the market, staying in the environment. And thank you so much. I'm really grateful that you took out time for us, and I really enjoyed our discussion. Thank you so much, Ethan, for being with us. And we would love to have you for some other episode.
Yeah, I'm sure we could have lots of conversations. So happy to come back anytime.
Thank you so much, Ethan, and Happy New Year.
You too.
Thank you so much. Bye.